Alphabet Man, tearing down the strongholds, exposing the darkness, wrecking the enemy's plans. Endurance till the end. It's time for the Alphabet Man Live.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. So, hey everybody, guess what? We need you to partner with us so that we can continue to fulfill our goal to bring about some major change in 2019. That's what it's all about. We're going to be out here. We're working on scheduling our first 3-day ministry, and it's going to be in Asheville, North Carolina. That much we know for sure. We're not sure if we're going to schedule it for February or March. Probably looking closer to March, end of February, beginning of March, something like that. So with that said, I wanted to go into something real quick this morning while we wait for Lenine to pop in. So I wanted to go over, yesterday I said that our reward or our recompense is caused by our actions, and it can be good or bad. And so Lenine kind of gave a worldly, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with her definition, but what I'm saying is that I think that she's kind of accepted the newer definition of the word. And so I just wanted for all of us to know what reward actually means. Reward, if we could pull that up, Jared, in the 1828, it's to give in return, either good or evil. See, it's not just a consequence. Your reward is what you receive, and it can be good or evil. 1 Samuel 24:19 says, "Thou hast rewarded me good, whereas I rewarded thee evil." So when I said yesterday that AIDS or HIV, even hepatitis and other types of diseases are rewards or recompense for our actions, it's because of the absolute definition of reward being to give in return, either good or evil. So I just wanted us to understand, because somebody actually emailed me and said, "Well, David, you kind of steered off what you said, reward is good or evil, but then you kind of said it was that there's a reward and then there's a consequence." And I was like, well, not really, because I'm still on the fact that our reward can be either good or evil. And we get that from the original definition of the word. So had to get into that, make sure I let everybody know that I didn't change my mind. I didn't change my mind on that. And so what we've been doing for the past, since the first, what we've been doing is we've been discussing intimacy and sexuality with Lenine Hanaya, who is an intimatologist. I don't even have to look at the word to pronounce it anymore. An intimatologist. So I wanted to give a quick recap. Oh, yeah, you better get on out of that room. So I wanted to give a quick recap. One was the emotional investment, not an investment if there is not a possibility of gain and the risk of loss. 2 was an understanding. Intimacy equals insight, enhancement. And 3 was total acceptance. And so without further ado, I think we're going to kind of dive on in to priority or number 4. And because Lenine, thank you for joining us again, and thank you for being with us this whole week. We truly appreciate you, sister. And I've gotten so many emails and so many messages that they're loving you, and they're loving the truth that you're bringing. They're receiving it. They're telling me, hey, this Lenine is spot on. You guys have an amazing flow together and this and that. And so I just want you to know that it's nothing but good reviews. Okay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And thank you. I want my reviews to be good on earth and heaven, right?
Amen.
You have a good reputation with God and man. So That is awesome. And thank you so much, David, for inviting me on your show, Alphabet Man Live. I've been broadcasting our show live on my YouTube page all week as well, and they have been enjoying it as well. So, yeah, thank you so much. And quickly, before I get into this, you said we would talk about my books a little bit since this is the
Yes,
last day. So,
absolutely.
I just wanted to let people know the titles of the book: The Spirits of Sexual Perversion Reference Book and STD, Sexually Transmitted Demons, are two books that you can get on my website, LanineHanaya.com. And they are very, very insightful books. Like you have not read anything like that on those topics. Easy to read, easy flow. Spiritual Sexual Perversion Reference Book actually goes over the 11 major spirit heads of sexual perversion: fornication, masturbation, adultery, incest, homosexuality, pornography, molestation, bestiality, lust, and promiscuity. So if you want to become an expert, okay, an expert at spiritual warfare when it comes to sexual demonology, you want to get that book. And then STD, Sexually Transmitted Demons, basically is really breaking down how demons transfer between people through sexual and non-sexual activities. So that's important for you to understand. Those spirits can be passed even without intercourse. So it's really a teaching course, and I want to encourage everybody to get conversation on intimacy is extremely relative, because Satan's main agenda or objective for introducing sexual perversion to humanity was to strip us of our understanding of intimacy with God. That was his reason. Pure sexual intimacy between a husband and a wife was given to humanity. I mean, think about this. God could have procreated the earth in any way he wanted to. Plants grow up out of the ground, right? So spiders lay eggs. And so we could have laid the eggs like a spider. Human beings could have popped up out of the soil like a plant. There's a reason that he made procreation the way that he made it. And between human beings, we are called the bride of Christ, are we not? The church is always referred to as a female persona that is the wife or the sweetheart or the darling or the bride of the Godhead. And so the reason that he did that with husband and wife is to show us our intimate worship with him. That was a picture of what our intimacy with God looks like: the oneness, the intimacy, the power. And I break all of that down in the Spiritual Sexual Perversion Reference Book. But if we don't understand that, if we have a warped understanding of sexuality, then now we miss the whole reference that God wanted to give us for what our worship with him should.
You kind of froze up there for a moment, Lanine, but I wanted to say that in your book, you say how sex looks a lot differently when we start looking at it through spiritual eyes. And that's the truth, and that's how it is with everything, is it not? When we start seeing things through God's lens, you know, I remember the first time that God gave me the ability to see women the way he created me to see them, I automatically, because it scared the nonsense out of me, and I ran out of the store, I got in my car and I was crying, and I was like, because I automatically recognized it as something else. But I said, Lord, I don't want to see women the way I saw men. I want to see women the way you see women. And so, because my automatic response was sexual, I automatically identified that attraction or that nature as sexual, because that's all I've known it to be all my life. And so it was within days and a lot of praying and a lot of interceding that he gave me the ability to see women as the gift that he created them to be, beautiful inside and out. And and it really doesn't have much to do with their physical, but their spiritual.
Yeah. Well, hey, women are physically beautiful too.
They are, but that's not what it's all about, right?
Yeah, it's not. No, it's not all about it, but it is a part of it. I mean, there's a reason that he made us look the way that we do. You know, our outer appearance is important to people. We do have physical eyes, so yes, you know, I like to bring that balance because sometimes we over spiritualize things. Women are some beautiful creatures.
It has a lot to
Thank
do
God
with
for
too.
little girls.
But yeah, so that was all I wanted to say about the book. I don't want us to spend the time away, but definitely check those out. There are some awesome resources, and it will restore. The important thing about the books is it's going to restore the proper insight and understanding of what sex is, how it is to be used, how it shouldn't be used, all of the other tools that the enemy uses that we think are not sexual perversion, how to recognize all of that. And the point of all of that is to restore our accurate understanding of intimacy.
And you know, I want everybody to know as well, Lenine, because we're not going to get into any detail because I've learned that we don't get into the details of certain things. But what I do want everyone to know is, see, when I had my little episode that happened to me back in October, with the demonic spiritual realm attack, physical and spiritual attack, I talked about that with Lenine when I was in Texas, and because I know that when I shared what happened with me, a lot of people reached out and said, you know, I never told anyone this, but this is what happened to me. So I want you to know that if you want to, if there's anyone out there that didn't respond to me because I'm a man, and you would rather share something like that with a woman, reach out to Lenine, because Lenine has a great understanding and grasp of that very thing, because she's endured it as well.
All right. No, don't reach out to me. Just buy the book.
There you go. Buy the book.
No, don't give an open invitation for that. I'll be bombarded. I have people calling me about that all the time. Everything is in the book, and I have a full like a 11 series YouTube teaching on that as well. So plenty out there, but I will get all of that to you if you email me.
I didn't know.
So
that.
anyway, let's excuse me. Let us get back into number 4 of understanding intimacy. Number 1 was emotional investment. Number 2 was growing in these are the 20 core principles of intimacy, and we'll get through as many as we can. Number 2 was growing in understanding of someone. Number 3 was total acceptance, being able to see and know and understand somebody's flaws and still accept them the way they are. That wasn't the same as condoning any bad behavior, but I accept you unconditionally in spite of your faults and your flaws. And isn't that how we all want to be loved? Isn't that the way the Creator loves us? He loves us in spite of our faults and our flaws. He totally accepts us, and he chooses us anyway, in spite of everything that we have wrong with us and all of the ways that we fall short of the command to be ye holy, for even as I am holy. Nobody lives up to that standard, but he totally accepts us anyway. And I think that's really important to understand about intimacy, because
that's not a scapegoat, folks, because we must strive to endure. We must strive to be Christ-like. We must strive to be ye holy, because in Isaiah 55, the word tells us to seek him while he may be found and to call upon him while he is near, which suggests to me that his patience is exhaustible. And so when I befriend somebody and I tell them I don't want to be a friend, I want to be a brother, you know what else I tell them? If I get to a point where I believe and see clearly that I'm not going to be your brother, then there's either two things. Either you don't want to know and grow, or I'm not the one that's supposed to be bringing it to you. So I'm going to wash my hands of that situation and move on. So while I accept them totally as they are in the beginning, they cannot remain the same. They cannot remain the same.
You can't have a deep, intimate connection with everybody. So
Right.
These core principles are not to be applied to every relationship in totality. We learned on the second day when we were talking about this that intimacy works on a spectrum. You know, it's on a sliding scale. So this first scale is how intimate I've learned to become. You know, how intimate is my nature. That's scale number one. Scale number two is how much of that am I going to allow you to have access to? So, like I can be intimate with anyone, but I won't allow everyone to be intimate with me. And so, when somebody is when somebody does not, when they're at a place at their life where they're not ready for righteousness, they're not ready for change, you can have an intimate moment with them. You can have genuinely intimate moments with them, but it doesn't have to be a sustained intimacy. And we have to train ourselves to connect and disconnect on a dime.
I like that. That's good. Let's jump into point 4, or what do you call it? Priority 4?
No. Core principles.
Core principles. Sorry. Principles, not priority.
And maybe you can hold your comments to the end because you keep.
Well, that's what I do. That's what I do. And I do that because it's my show. And, you know, I got to say it when I think it. So let's go ahead into core principle 4.
Okay. Yeah. So core principle number 4 is harmony. One of the principles of intimacy is harmony, which means not only are you going to get along well. Oh, no, there. And it made me forget. The reason why I talked about total acceptance is because the opposite of acceptance is rejection. So at any point you don't totally accept someone, then you reject them. There's only two sides to that coin. You either accept me or you reject me. And that's why with intimacy, you want to grow. Now, you might have to grow into that because there's some things are hard to accept. But you want to, in intimacy, be striving for that total acceptance because you don't want to be in a relationship with someone and be the reason that they are experiencing rejection. Okay. So number 4.
That's good. I agree with that.
Number 4 is harmony. So that means not only do you get along, but you know how to disagree peacefully. Okay. You're not going to agree with all the time with anyone. That's not a thing. If that is a thing, you're in delusion. You know, nobody agrees with everyone all the time about everything. And so you want to learn how to disagree peacefully, which means there's no low blows. There's no name calling. You know, you're careful about how you disagree. You know, I'm not going to give you the cold shoulder or stop speaking to you a little while. We're not going to have these heated arguments and blow-ups because you interpret the scripture one way and I interpret it differently. You know?
And that's important. That's very important.
Yeah. So,
that's what I learned even on Coach Dave, and that's what I tried to to make clear as well, because we don't all have to agree to get along, right?
No, yeah, but we're not going to all agree, so we better totally accept that.
Amen. That was good. That's good. You got that.
Number 5 is nurturing. So true intimacy is very nurturing. It is caring. It nurtures the relationship. It nurtures the object of its intimacy. It nurtures. Nurture just means loving care for something. Like when you nurture a plant, you're watering it, you're talking to it, you're fertilizing it, you're trimming the dead leaves away, you are aerating the soil. You know, when you nurture a child, you feed them, you hug them.
Yeah, you keep freezing up, Lenine. Probably every few minutes you freeze up for about 15 seconds or so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but and I did want to touch on that nurturing. You know, I say all the time with my mom. My mom wasn't a Christian, but she knew that by the very nurturing nature that's within her, she knew she didn't want her son to be enveloped by the darkness that was trying to envelop him. And so that's why she said to me, hey, guess what? Yeah, you want to do that? You can't do it under this roof. But that was by her nurturing nature. It didn't have anything to do with her spiritual beliefs or her love, but her nurturing nature as a mother.
That's good. Because she was intimate with you.
Yes.
That's really important to understand as well, because you know people that don't believe in Christ and Yeshua, they can be intimate as well. You know, sometimes we tend to believe or act like or want to think for whatever reason that if you're not born again, you cannot love, you cannot be intimate, you cannot have any goodness in you. And that's not true. You can see examples of that all the time of, you know, sinful mothers that really, really intimately love their children. So, you know, it's important to understand that, because we don't want to invalidate the good in people, because even as born again believers, we got bad in us too. So, you know, we're not all the way there yet.
That was good. And you know, I say that too. And you know how I see it? I see it when I go on Facebook, and I'll go on all the people that I know aren't saved. I'll go on their page, and you know what I see? Like intimate, personal, sentimental videos, stuff that stirs up your emotions, stuff that makes you want to cry, because they have that in them. And it's the way they're trying to express it may be wrong, you know, it may be sexual, so then it may be wrong. But when I see that, and then I go to folks' pages who I know are Christian, and I don't see that, you know. And so I look and I say, well, it's because they're seeking the worldly, the unsaved. They're searching, they're seeking, but there's good in them because they're expressing it. They just don't know how to express or how to identify it, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, that's very good. Number 6, intimacy is very attentive. It is very attentive. It pays attention to you. And this is really important, because if you're not paying attention to someone, then it's really hard to implement some of the other things that we've already talked about. Those are the core principles: understanding, total acceptance. Well, how can I understand you if I'm not paying attention to you? You know, how can I totally accept you? The important thing about paying attention is that intimacy will not repeatedly, and I want you to hear this, intimacy will not repeatedly accidentally hurt you, okay? So you know how you know, sometimes people in a relationship, and the husband or the wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, continuously does things that brings you to tears or really cuts you or really hurts you. When you're paying attention, that doesn't happen over and over again. Yes, at the beginning stages, as you're growing in the relationship, I may not have known that was a trigger point for you. So I say something insensitive. But come on, you know, 3-4 years down the line, and I'm still accidentally being insensitive, still accidentally hurting your feelings. So although it may not be intentional, neither was the effort to understand me enough not to hurt me. So you didn't intentionally hurt me, but you.
Okay, you kind of froze up. Didn't intentionally hurt me, but
you didn't intentionally try to understand me either, so you would know how not to hurt me. Because one of the definitions of intimacy is familiarity. It means that you become familiar enough with me to understand how I operate, how I think, how I feel, what makes me tick, what sets me off, what calms me down. In time, you should understand these things. So to sum up this point, if you don't deliberately strive to understand me, then you are deliberately hurting me.
Right. And, you know, we have to be invested, right? Isn't that? Because if you're invested in someone, if you're invested in growing a relationship or establishing that intimacy, if you're invested in that, then you will nurture it. And if you're going to nurture it, then you have to pay attention to it. And so if you're not paying attention to it, then I would question whether you were all in, or even whether you were nurturing it, or, you know, if we were in harmony.
That's really good too. And that investment also means that if you're emotionally invested in someone, you're going to feel when they are sad. Remember, the point number 1 was you cannot be aloof or detached and build intimacy. So if I'm emotionally invested in you and I make you sad, I'm going to feel that sadness. So now I have greater motivation to not make you sad again, because when I made you sad, it made me sad too. Or when I made you mad, it also upset me. So, you know, again, you can't do all of these other things if you're not paying attention. Number 7 is unity. And that means that you are united in efforts and thoughts, and you're striving to become one. And again, these are some deep levels of intimacy. It works on a spectrum, so you won't be able to pursue the maximum capacity of all of these things in every relationship. But you want to be striving for those people that you want to have that type of intimacy with. You want to be striving for unity and effort and thoughts, and like Jonathan and David, you know, it says souls were knit together.
Yes.
Matter of fact, let me jump into number 8, because these two kind of tied together. Number 8 is bonded friendship. Okay, infatuation equals acquaintance. Okay, intimacy produces a bonded friendship, something strong, secure, and hard to separate. Something strong and secure and hard to separate. Okay, so you
really can't even have unity or bonded friendship if you're not paying attention. So you can't even get past being attentive. You can't even establish unity if what I'm getting is right. You can't even establish unity and that bonded friendship unless you're attentive.
Right. No, you can't. You have to be paying attention, because you're literally navigating through somebody's soul.
Amen.
Remember, intimatology is the study of core to core interaction between human beings. That's the definition of intimatology, the study of core to core interaction between human beings, which means to become intimate with, to reach the maximum level of intimacy, I have to navigate all the way to your core. So yeah, I got to be paying attention, because somebody's soul is like a jungle. You know what I mean? There's cougars in there, there's lions and tigers and bears. Oh my! You know. So what I mean?
Intimatology is
the study of core to core interaction between human beings. And remember, that is my coined term and my definition. So you're not going to find that in a dictionary. No,
and I ain't even going to go looking.
I'm saying for your audience until they go look that up. They're like, what is this lady talking about? You know, intimatology is the wisdom that God gave me to actually learn how to teach this to people, because there was no way to teach it based on what was already out there. So being unified in thought and bonded in friendship. Like, I'll give you a real quick example. My best friend, I have a best female friend. She's my best friend. And we were talking about something really important in the Bible. Believers are not going to agree on every interpretation of scripture, but there's some core things that we really should agree on. Like, it's either right or wrong. And so we disagreed about the interpretation of something that was really important. And she was like, well, you know, we just don't see it the same. It's okay. And it was bothering me. Like, over the next couple of days, I was like, actually, no, this is really not okay, because this is one of the core principles of our understanding of our relationship with Messiah. So I called her back, and I was like, her name is Wanda. I was like, Wanda, I was wondering if we could do some Bible study together, because it is not okay that we don't agree on this. It's too important. Can we just study together until we both come, the Holy Spirit brings us to the same place of agreement? And that is surely what happened. After that, we both had the same understanding of that particular point of interpretation. And that's bonded friendship. That's unity. You know, we say that it's okay that we're going to disagree, but in true intimacy, we can disagree initially, but we should be striving to not disagree. Why do we disagree? How come we don't see it the same? So we work through that until we come to the same understanding.
That's really good. And you know, and some things are that important. There are some points that we must have an understanding on it. And I like actually, I don't even like it. I love the way you approached it, because it's kind of how I've been trying to dive into on how to approach certain issues with some people. And it's through a study. Hey, can we do a Bible study together? Because I'd rather show you a believer in the word where it says this and it says it in more than one way. And so you're able to actually see, they see it in scripture and then they hear the explanation and they get it. And I mean, that's how I know a lot of people that have been just even led in the way because of doing just a Bible study on specific issues and topics. Hey, folks, you know what? We are out of time for the day, and there's never enough time. But I wanted you all to go away hungry and waiting for Lanine's next book to come out. But in the meantime, before her next book comes out, go to LanineHanaya.com and get the other books, STD, Sexually Transmitted Demons, and the Spiritual of Sexual Perversion reference book. And you will be blessed. You will be blessed.
The book that has this in it is called Nakedness and Intimacy, What Sex Got to Do with It. And they can pre-order. It is on the website.
There you go. You can pre-order the book she's working on now, The Intimatologist, Lanine Hanaya. Lanine, thank you so much. Guys, Lord willing, I will see you on Monday morning. Have a blessed weekend. Peace.